And you are live.
Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Arts and Public Places Commission meeting on November 28th. We're calling to order at 7:03 p.m. Joe, please do a roll call.
There we go. Genevieve,
Here.
David,
Here.
Joe, here. Lynn,
Here.
Jim,
Presente.
Cynthia,
Present.
Barbara.
Here. Here.
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah.
that's it.
Wonderful. All right.
Did you get Cynthia?
I did.
And you got Madeline?
Jim, she's just hosting. Let's
Okay.
thank you. Do we have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda for this evening?
So moved.
Do a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Awesome. Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion on the floor for approval of the minutes from October 30th meeting 2023?
David, I make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Fabulous. Thank you, Lynn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Awesome. Good. All right. Brings us to our next call of order. It's the officers election. I'm going to take a point of privilege at this point and announce that we are moving. We are actually moving out of the city, so and out of the county. So I can no longer serve on Arts and Public Places, but it's been a fabulous 5 years. Thank you, everybody, for serving alongside of us, and I look forward to the great things that you guys are going to do. With that being said, I will not accept nominations as chair, so that opens the floor for us to vote in the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. So at this time, do we have a motion on the floor to nominations? David?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Barbara Toran as chair.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Joe, may we, Barbara, do you accept the nomination?
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. But right now I'm going to have to decline. I have some personal and professional things going on right now, but check me next November and I will say yes.
Thank you, Barbara. Do we have a motion on the floor for a nomination of chair?
Genevieve, I'd like to nominate David as chair.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
I hope my seconds are not the kiss of death in this election.
David, do you accept this nomination?
Unfortunately, I will pass on this nomination as I also have several conflicting events, so I wouldn't be an effective chair, as you will. So thank you for consideration, but I will pass.
It should be noted he did a fine job when you were absent, Genevieve.
I trust my vice chair very, very much, and I know he's really good at it. Thank you.
All the stuff behind the scenes, Jim. That's the part where I get lost. I can run a meeting like a champ, but there's all the stuff behind the scenes.
Okay. Do we have a motion on the floor for chair? I'm still chair. I can't make motions. Come on, you guys.
I'd like to nominate Jim Martin based on his experience and collaboration with other art groups among the city.
Is there a second for Jim? Motion fails. Do we have a motion on the floor for chair?
I'd like to nominate Lynn Farrow.
Do we have a second on the floor for Lynn?
Well, we have to have a chair, and I'm not going to be it. So, Lynn, if you want to take it, I think you'd be great. At least I hope you'll be great.
Jim, is that a second? Do you second the motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Okay, Joe, I'm sorry, Lynn, do you accept the motion?
I guess so, but I'm a little concerned. It took so long for somebody to second the motion, but Barbara said she would we could ask her again next November. So I'll do it for a year until Barbara is ready. Is that good?
That's fine. So you accept the nomination?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
All right, Cynthia, hold on, because we have a motion on the floor that we have to vote on. Joe, you do a roll call?
Yes. I'm sorry. Am I unmuted? Yeah.
Okay.
Genevieve,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Joe, I, Jim,
Aye.
Cynthia.
My question is whether Lynn is eligible because she has missed so many meetings throughout the year. I believe she's missed between 3 or 4, and
No.
I think it makes her ineligible. I think we might need to run it by Hillary because of her attendance record. So I think that needs to be really closely examined with the number of absentees.
Okay, are you voting or are you abstaining?
Well, as I said, I think we need to run it by Hillary because I do think the attendance is critically important. So I think unless we get some response maybe from Hillary, that I would abstain.
We have to, okay, you can abstain, that's fine.
Barbara,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, Lynn, at this time, I will hand over the gavel to
gosh.
you. So just go down the agenda.
Wow. Like I
That
didn't.
will
Yeah,
be
we should have
pride.
done this at the end, right?
Okay.
Right on the money, babe.
So now you got to open the floor for vice
Okay,
chair.
yeah. So I'm gonna open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
And I'd like to nominate David Arthur.
I'll
Is there
second
a
that.
second?
I'll second.
Okay, Joe, you want to take the roll call?
Have to
David,
Oh,
do you
David, I'm
accept
sorry,
that?
David, are you going to accept the nomination?
Yes.
There we go. All righty. So Joe, can I get you to do
Yes.
a roll?
Genevieve,
Yes.
Joe, Lynn,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Cynthia,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
motion passes.
Very good. Very good. Congratulations, David.
Congratulations, Madam President.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not sure,
Congratulations.
but not sure congratulations are in order. Okay, I will we should open the floor now for nominations for secretary. And I'll entertain any nominations.
Nominate Jim.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
I nominate Jim.
There's no second. It's okay.
Okay, there isn't a second. I'm sorry, I was waiting for Genevieve to speak. Is there a second? There is no second. Is there another nomination?
I nominate Joe Lucchesi.
Second.
Okay. Joe, do you accept the nomination? Yes.
I do.
Very good. Okay, so how do we, I'm not sure you can do the vote. You can do the roll call, right? So
You
I
can
think,
do it.
yeah, so just go around the,
okay, all right, I'll just
the
go
Zoom.
around the screen. So Genevieve,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Cynthia.
I,
Motion passes. Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you.
All righty. The next item on the agenda, as soon as I pull it up, is, let me see. Oh, can somebody help me out here while I pull the agenda up?
It's the poet laureate and gallery updates.
Oh, okay. So do we have an update from the poet laureate?
Hi, Lynn, it's Barbara. Nothing new at this time. We're still working on the paperwork and trying to get that ready for approval next month so we can post it for January as we had discussed at the last meeting. Thanks.
Very good. All righty. Are there any other committee updates? Do we have anything for do you have anything for grants?
I just heard from Eric Lashinsky about the Maryland State Arts Council grant that we might be eligible for, and I think he also just sent me something about a second grant that happened like an hour ago, so I haven't had time to process it. So there's some communication. It's in relation to Westgate Circle, but I haven't really had time, but I went ahead and replied to him and said that I would like to talk to him about the stuff that you and I talked about as well, about kind of city processes. Yeah, so hopefully I can follow up on that
All right.
pretty quickly.
All right, very good. I'm sorry, folks. I'm having a hard time pulling up the agenda.
Lynn, I have a question
Yes.
regarding what Joe just discussed.
Uh-huh.
When you have opened these up and digested these documents, could you pass them on to the commissioners so that we could be ready to discuss them at the next commission meeting?
I'm sorry, what documents are you talking about?
The proposals for grants from the State Arts Council and somebody else you mentioned?
Well, these would be grants that we would write to the State Arts Council.
I understand, but could we not know what they are?
Oh, of course. Well, here's what I'll say. Absolutely, you can know what it is. The issue may be that we may need to send you the information remotely, because if the due date is in between our meeting dates, then we may have to submit it both between meetings and get you all to respond between meetings, if that makes sense. For example, if the grant application is due December 20, we won't have met again, but we will have to have our narrative or a letter of interest or whatever it is submitted before then. So we'll make sure that you all see what we submit, but know that it is in line with the RFQ that we developed for the Westgate Circle. Correct, Joe?
Yeah,
okay.
and also, yeah, that's right. And the grant deadline, as far as I know, is until the end of January. I would have to double check that, but last time I looked, I think. And there's two that I know that we're eligible for. One essentially is kind of a planning grant. The other is actually to support the process of creating it. So there's time, but I think we can make that information available to the rest of the commission for sure.
That would be great.
Alrighty. Okay, so I'm looking, I do have the agenda up now and I can see it. Okay, so the next item on the agenda would be public outreach. The public outreach subcommittee. Do we have any updates from public outreach?
Who is the Public Outreach Committee?
That's a good question.
It's David, Krista, and I.
Oh, okay.
I have nothing to report at this time.
I don't have anything either, so.
Okay,
Kind of
awesome.
been a quiet month.
Yeah.
Around the holidays, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Alrighty.
I'll just,
Okay.
besides what I forwarded, the Visit Annapolis holiday event I sent out to everybody's emails, so that's pretty much the only thing that I have right now. But I'll hand over that email sign in to the new chair and they can forward whatever, if anything else comes in for events for us to attend.
Sounds good. And did everyone see that email that Genevieve, our former chair, sent inviting us to the event on December 14th?
I don't
Yes.
recall
She sent it. She sent it today or yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes,
so
I saw
check-
it, Lynn.
Okay,
Yeah, I
very
got it.
good.
I got it as well.
Alrighty.
okay.
And I hope that some folks will be able to attend and represent us. I am not able to attend that evening because my office holiday party is that same night.
I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you, Genevieve. That's great. Okay, so we should talk about the budget, and Genevieve, I'm not prepared to do so. So if you don't mind, would you
Sure.
could you please
Yep.
have that discussion?
Yep, definitely.
Thank you.
So I sent out the email with all the updated expenditures and what we have going forward. Currently, it's after all of the expenses of our votes and money that we've set aside, we have $111,000, $482 dollars and 14 cents. Sorry, $111,482 and 14 cents. Up for consideration this evening is $66,934.92. The Victoria Bruce Film Grant is asking for $60,000, and the Maryland Hall exhibit I Am a Man is asking for $6,934.92. So, was there any questions on the spreadsheet or the Excel sheet that we get from finance?
I have a question about the total. I understand the 111,482. I haven't audited, but now is that for the remainder of what period of time?
This fiscal year, so it would go until June 30, 2024.
So we would be spending more than half of the grant if we honored both these applications. And my concern is that people are getting the idea that we're a cash cow for whatever reason. And I think what we have to do is we have to set some parameters that ensures that we don't end up in March with $0 to give out in grant money when the season is upon us, as they say, when it's really the high season of activity beginning the following 3 months or so. I had submitted something to Genevieve a while ago where I thought we would divide the budget, whatever the amount of money was, in quarters and figure out, the first 3 months of the year, how much we could spend, the second 3 or whatever. But since we have only roughly 6 months to spend money on, we can divide it, in 2-month intervals, or you could still do it in 3-month intervals if you want. But I think we have to have some idea that we have to have spending caps on our grants. Otherwise, people will come in here and ask for $40,000, $60,000, huge amounts of money. And it would only take 1 or 2 of those, and maybe 2. And everybody else would have to be high and dry for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that, Jim. I think you make a good point. But we have the ability to approve or not approve or change the amount or
Mhm.
awarded a particular amount. So it, I don't think that we are tied to making an award just because someone applies. So I'm not sure that that's relevant, but let's see. I don't know who had their hand up first, Genevieve and then David, or David and then Genevieve. Sorry.
Ladies
I
first.
was first. I was first.
Genevieve, go ahead.
So if we look back to our conversation with Jody when she was here from finance, that it's not, our budget isn't the same as it used to be. So we don't get one lump sum on July 1st, and then that's it. So there is another round of funding that's supposed to be coming in after this month. So there'll be more money. So legal advised us, and of course this is however the commission wants to do it moving forward, but legal did advise us not to put caps on certain categories, or like we only give so much towards music, or we only give so much towards murals or whatever, because there may be some sort of project that we do want to fully support, and it may be over that cap that we have done. So it limits you and puts you into a box. Like I said, it's totally up to the commission. If you guys decide to go against that advice, that is what it is. And then also, as Lynn said, we don't always have to give them the amount that they ask for. We can give them more, we can give them less. That is entirely up to the commission to decide based on review of the applications and the presentations.
Thank you, Genevieve. David.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeanette, historically, this commission has been pretty decent financial stewards, but even before we got a boatload of money. We definitely don't want to spend all of our money in the same bucket, so we're poor. I think we know that there's going to be things that'll pop up later in the year that we want to support. So we kind of have a mindful theory about, if we only have $100, we're not going to spend $100. We may only spend $40. And like Genevieve said, we have the option to choose how much money we give people. So just because you ask for 60 doesn't mean you're going to get it. And I think, everybody on this commission has basically went through this process prior to that. Like I said, especially when we had a smaller budget, that we definitely had only so much to give to people. And we're only going to, we're not going to put ourselves in the poorhouse, essentially, going forward, because you never know what's going to come up next year, or, next month's meeting. Who knows what's going to pop up. So I think we're, but, appreciate you mentioning and bringing it to the forefront. That, we definitely don't want to spend all our money, and we don't want to spend money we don't have. So, we're not going to spend money based on some stuff we may get 3 months from now. So we're not going to do that. I know legal advice not to do that, because that can put us in the hole. So, I think we're going to be, I think we're adults here. I hope. I think most of you guys are.
Okay. Jim, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just, I thought it might be prudent to figure out some number or range of number that we could use as a guideline, that people would know that, we issue grants in $2,500 or $5,000 or some denomination up to a certain amount, maybe 15, only so that it reduces their expectation and they become more realistic about what they're actually asking for. How we get there is up to everybody. To decide. My other question is, I understand that Jody is saying we will get another amount of money after the first of the year. Is that correct?
So, Jim, the hotel tax, we get 3% of the hotel tax.
It's divided in 4, correct?
No, well, not necessarily divided in 4, but on a monthly basis, the hotels submit their tax to the city, and we get 3% of that. So last year, we worked off an estimate of the amount that 3% of the hotel tax has been historically. And we could do that again this year. Now, this is the first I've heard that legal advises not to do that. But so let's say for now, we have funding for this current quarter that ends at the end of this month. Is that correct, Genevieve?
I'm sorry, say that again?
So the $111,000 is money that has been collected already so far
Yes.
this year.
That is correct.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So that
And
money
that-
has been collected so far this year. Right.
Yep, and that's the balance after we subtract everything that we've already voted on and that hasn't come out yet, so.
Okay, and that's for a 6-month period since July 1st.
Well, and it also includes funds that were left over from last year.
Right, and I remember there was some significant money there.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I'm just trying to get a picture of where we're going to be at the end of, if we were decided to vote all these out, we would have some money left, but, not a whole heck of a lot. And my concern is that we enter the next quarterly period, not knowing what we might get. Now, will we get a number again in January?
so
Or
Jim,
do we have any way of knowing when that's going to come?
I will talk with Jody and see, because I'm not sure that I understand the way that it's being delivered now. I thought we were given an estimated amount at the beginning of the year for the entire year based on the funding that was made available last year. Apparently, they're not doing that this year. So let me ask the question of the finance department and we will get back to you on that. But I understand your concern. But we do know that
I'm only concerned that, if we go out and certainly we get grant requests, these $60,000, $40,000, $30,000, $20,000 grants it's a lot of money. And we have no way of saying to folks, that's a little unrealistic and we can always do it. But I thought we might want to set folks a little more practical sight until we get a really grip on the year as to what kind of funding we have. Because if we accumulate some money because we've set some limiting standards, then we would have money to put into the traffic circle or to a special project that does come up that might require $100,000 or $50,000 or some number bigger than, say, the normal range of grants, somewhere between $2,500 and $10,000, $25,000.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get us to become a little more practical and realistic about how much we dole out right away to somebody, because there are other people who have filed applications for grants and were denied because, I don't know, they were on time, but they were told that that they were too late or something like that. And then we have somebody waiting in the wings that wants a substantial grant to do the Hillman Garage, which is now complete. And they're basically waiting for our seed money so that they can use that to leverage with the developers and private sources.
So Jim, I don't think that it's appropriate to discuss grant applications that have either not been submitted.
These were submitted. It was submitted in April.
Or the committee. And so if we could just move along with the agenda. So we can hear from the folks that are here to present to us this evening. Barbara, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, thanks, Lynn. Just a quick question for Genevieve. In the current year budget 2023, are we including the $1,500 that's on hold for Sally Comport from the vendor payment? It said that Sally's invoice was received on 10/22, but the payment was on hold, and I just wanted to get a refresher of why that's on hold, or do we know?
Yeah, so that was for the proposed putting art on the car wash over on Forest Drive. And that project didn't move forward, even though we did a vote. So the way that we can take that off of there is that if the commission made a motion to return the funds back and nullify that that vote that we had, that would give her money to it was to do the the word is escaping my brain at the moment, but the preliminary research and to do a proposal, preliminary proposal of what the art would be and how it would be applied to the car wash, et cetera. So that's what that money was voted for by the commission.
Okay,
Thank you.
Lynn, can I make a motion?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Barbara. Yes, you may.
Yes,
make a
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion to return the 1,500 back to our pot.
Is there a second?
I second.
So,
All righty. So Joe, you want to do a roll call? All in favor?
Sure. David,
aye.
Joe, I, Lynn,
Aye.
Jim,
No,
Cynthia,
No,
Barbara,
Aye.
and Genevieve.
Aye.
Motion
Okay.
passes 5-2.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
All righty. I think we can move on to unfinished
Well,
business now. I'm
Well,
sorry. Go
May I,
ahead.
may I,
Yes, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
I had
Genevieve.
my
Go
hand
ahead.
up, but it disappeared, so it's okay. Jody was gonna send us her presentation and that explains the payouts. So Lynn, do you want to contact Jody and ask her to
Yes,
give us
I'm
the
gonna
slide?
follow up with her
Okay.
tomorrow anyway to make sure that we're all clear and
Perfect. I think that'll
and-
help to have that on hand and Jim can just refer to it because it says when the payouts come, et cetera. So,
right. Okay. And we'll try to develop a narrative, a budget narrative too, for so that we can review that prior to the meeting. That might be helpful. Alrighty. Let's move on to unfinished business. And Maddie, can you bring Marilyn Hall forward so that they can make their presentation?
I'm promoting him now.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, Chris. We are delighted to have you here to talk about the I Am a Man exhibit and your application to AIPPC for funding for $6,000, I believe is the amount. So the floor is yours. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Thanks for having me. So the amount that we were requesting was $6,934.92. And it's for the I Am a Man exhibition. It's a traveling exhibition on the Southern civil rights in the South, taking place from 1960 to 1970. It's primarily a historical exhibit. And we've had it for some time now. There was some glitch in the application process, so this was a little late to be reviewed, but I appreciate everyone hearing us out and considering us for this. We already had the backing of the NEA, the company from which we leased the exhibition for applied for a grant for a part of this. So we're hoping that at least some of this can be covered. $3,934 is the prorated amount for the exhibit from December through January 7th. And another $3,000 is the estimated shipping cost for sending the entire exhibition onto its next home. We've been reaching out and have started showing the exhibit to local school children in the area, as well as the photography department at Anne Arundel Community College. And we've had pretty good turnout so far. We feel pretty strongly that it's a good step in the direction of embracing our new DEI commitment, as well as our mission to make a greater attempt at serving the entire community. And there's been some interest there, substantially more than we've had in the past. And we've had a partnership with this with the NAACP. It's about 60 photographs, strong in history, a lot of writing, some timelines, and maybe 16 different photographers in the exhibit. Can I tell you anything else about it?
Sure. There's a video as well, correct?
There is an exhibit, a video that has short frames of different sort of press releases and people speaking about different different events happening in the South at that time. I think the whole exhibit wraps up with the assassination of Martin Luther King.
And Chris, do you know how many people attended the opening night?
I don't have the
event?
exact number. We did have people there tracking that and asking everybody to participate in a survey, and that's being looked at by our programming director right now. I want to say that it was probably around 50 people at the main reception, and we also had a filming down in the theater for 2 different films on the same evening after the reception.
Correct. Alrighty, wonderful. Can I, oh, I'm sorry. I was about to ask if the commission members have any questions. Cynthia, go right ahead.
Christopher, I just wanted to say, I'm an usher at Maryland Hall, and I was there for the firefighters swearing in last evening, and I was able to see the exhibit. It's phenomenal. It's really brought back a lot of memories because I do remember a lot of those photographs and that whole era. So I think it's a very great exhibit, and I hope that everybody on the commission gets a chance to see it. Thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you so much. That's so nice to hear. We have been getting pretty good feedback. And of course, I've spoken to a lot of people my age or a little bit older who a lot of this is quite familiar. It is still helpful to see it all laid out and see all the different connecting points. But there were quite a few young people there in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, who sadly didn't know some of these events or couldn't recall them easily from having heard about them before. So we feel like it's a really important exhibit, and it's a little different than what we've done in the past. Typically, most of our exhibits are all fine art related, and this is a little different in that it's really pretty strong, pretty heavy in the history. So we're pretty excited about it. It's probably will be for this financial year our biggest exhibit for the year. We had another one this summer that was quite an investment on a number of levels, and this one's probably it. And then we'll have different community groups coming in for the rest of our exhibitions, and we're forming some different relationships in that way to reach some more audiences. But this will be our sort of big one for the year, I believe.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? David?
I think it's a great time of year to have it because there's a lot of foot traffic, with the kids coming in for the Nutcracker. So it couldn't be better timing to really be an educational tool. And thanks again.
Thank you.
David, you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you.
Cool. I hope to get a chance to check this out. I just want to make sure I understand the money is for the $6,900. It's basically for the continuation of the exhibit to go through its end date and then to have it shipped to its next location. Is that what the money is for primarily?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So we prorated it to the remaining of the exhibit. There was an actual original cost, and then this is a reduced amount. $3,000 is a total of $7,950 that we committed to pay for the exhibit for the entire time.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Len.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. If there are no further questions, Chris, we will excuse you. Thank you so much for your presentation and for your application. And we will be in touch with you soon.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. All righty, Maddie, I think we are ready. Or is there any discussion before we move to the next? Okay, Alrighty, Maddie, could you bring Victoria Bruce forward, please?
Sure thing. I'm promoting that group now.
Thank you. Alrighty. I see we have Dee Ward, Victoria Bruce, and Naya. Am I saying that right? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So, thank you all for coming to make your presentation to us this evening. We are excited to hear about your project. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President, and congratulations on your nomination and all the esteemed board members. I'm Victoria Bruce. Some of you may know me. I am a local filmmaker. I've been in the area for 25 years. And some of you, hopefully many of you, have seen the film Pippin's Astro: An American Friendship. This was a film about two best friends that grew up during segregation and became best friends, and all of the things they did for Annapolis over their 60-year friendship. And that film has been such a beautiful part of preserving history of Annapolis. And it was also a beautiful part of bringing people together. It was the first time Maryland Hall had a really integrated audience. It was 2008, and there were 800 people. It was a packed theater. And that theater had all people of Annapolis. And as you know, and many of us know, Annapolis has been a segregated town for a long time. So it was a really beautiful thing. I worked with Janice Hayes Williams, and I worked with Carl Snowden. And we all just, this film has gone far and wide. And from there, it was at Stanton Center and in the high schools and on Maryland Public Television. And so we're really excited that we can come back. The city also gave us a $50,000 grant towards that production, as well as Anne Arundel County gave us $50,000 as well. And then we got a lot of private funding and investors and some community grants. And so we come to you with sort of a Pippin's Astro 2.0 with two new directors who are local artists from Annapolis, Deonte Ward and Naya Curtis. And we just want to run through this project that we believe will be near and dear to all of you, to sort of come on board and be executive producers of something that it can be a very beautiful and important work of art in Annapolis. So I am going to grab my slide deck. Where is it? Let's see, PowerPoint. Okay. So before, I'm going to have my colleagues introduce themselves and talk to you too. So I just want to say, hopefully you've all read our materials and seen, we have done a lot of work in pre-production already on this project. This is Mr. Boo Boo and Miss Peaches, and they are local celebrities in Annapolis. That we came to learn about this story through Facebook and people that are involved in the community. Tony Strong Pratt, who runs My Sister's Keeper, and many other people who told us that, you know, there's this fantastic, outgoing, huge-hearted woman living in Eastport Terrace, Harbor House, and she's doing amazing things. So that was what started us all off. And if you've read the synopsis, or if you know the story locally, she brought a homeless man into her world, into her house, and really galvanized a community that's sometimes divided by race and by economics, and really like just brought everybody together. And it's just that power and the overcoming of the obstacles that she's had and the overcoming of the obstacles that he's had that make what we believe will be a really important and beautiful film. I will be producing this time around. I was the director of Pippin's Astro. I will be producing in documentary film language. That means I will sort of be the umbrella person running, doing the budgets, raising money, and the creative team again will be led by Naya and Dee. Again, my background, many of you know Pippin's Astro, but I have made 5 documentary films, and I've worked on about 20 other documentary films. I have never left a project unfinished. My most recent project won 13 awards, and it was about women on the front lines of the migrant crisis. And we have been all over the world with that film, and it continues to be used in schools, and it's about attorneys that are working to help the migrant crisis. So next up, I'm going to introduce our co-director, Deontay Ward, and let him talk about his vision and why he believes that this is an important project that we would love to engage the Arts in Public Places funding.
How you doing? Thank you, Vicky. As many of you may know me or may not know me, my name is Deontay Ward. I go by D Ward. I'm born and raised Annapolitan. I've been in the art world predominantly my entire life. Grew up as a photographer. I was one of the lead photographers in the Vision Workshop program. What some of you may be familiar with, ran by Miss Kirsten Olsen. From that program, I actually became like the community liaison and one of the teaching artists for that program, which was later on picked up through National Geographic from one of the articles that we had submitted through the Capital newspaper. But this opportunity would be like the first opportunity for me to really lead a project, as I've done many projects with like Jeff Huntington and other well-known artists, not just through photography and videography, but art itself. But knowing Ms. Donna personally, I think this is a very unique film to me and to the community, just based on like the location where Ms. Donna is, like accessibility, some of the things that she provided for Mr. Boo Boo in the midst of like his homelessness, some of the things that she does beyond just working with Mr. Boo Boo itself, with like the children outreach or the community outreach, where she hosts these events throughout the seasons and months, whether it is like a community carving project, or whether it is her working with the community on like a fashion event. She has always been like well known for her artistic abilities to incorporate the community as well, which I think really highlights, why we as artists need to be represented, especially within Annapolis. And not only that, Miss Peaches has a story herself that needs to be told, that not just highlights her, but the rest of the people in Annapolis, the unsung heroes, or those that really do the work to help provide for people that are no different than her. Small story about Miss Donna. She was in the painting program that was offered through Sherman-Williams and other partnerships into Eastport. But now she is like helping direct people into that same program. And that just is like a small highlight of her life, like some of the things that she does, what she necessarily doesn't have to do. So that's another thing that like we want to really highlight. And again, beyond just Miss Donna and Mr. Boo Boo, you have Naya and myself, which we really have been working to become phenomenal people within our city. We run programs ourselves through photography and videography, one in which we partner with the Annapolis City Police Department to show diversity, and highlight like what photography does to our community, because in the midst of COVID, the concept of this program really broke barriers for those that didn't understand what photography was, which was called the other side of the curb, to allow these officers to highlight themselves as just ordinary people, as well as people in the communities that I serve, like Newtown, Rockland, and Eastport, to really highlight themselves. And again, this is the same opportunity where we can bring children in, that Ms. Donna work hand in hand with, and they be able to tell a story of Ms. Donna through their eyes, as well as learning how to become young photographers and entrepreneurs. Well, we want to pay our youth stipends to be a part of this project, because what's a better way to say, here's an opportunity to learn how to become filmmakers or directors or documenters, and here's a small stipend to do that, so that there's a future in this, not just the opportunity. Because a lot of the times when these projects are presented to our communities, they are not often being able to be paid in the aspect of them believing that this is a career they can fulfill later on in life. And so I know that we are asking for a large budget, but when you break it down into such a large team of maybe 10 children, 10 adults, in a 2-year span of trying to do a project like this is telling the people that are Annapolitans that the arts in public places really care about the people within Annapolis, because ultimately people like myself are intimidated to ask for this kind of money based on some of the things you said. And sorry if my voice seems trembling, but this is dead to me, and it's kind of like touching a lot of topics, you know. So I'm gonna turn it over tonight to give her the opportunity to talk. But
thank you so much, Dee. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you to the board for letting us be here tonight and even presenting. Once again, my name is Naya Curtis. I'm also a Annapolis native, been here my whole life, 32 years, proud to say that. I'm a professional event photographer. I'm also an author, also a mentor within the city of Annapolis and in Anne Arundel County for a facet of youth and then also adults and young adults as well. One of the reasons why when I asked to be a part of this project, I was so enthused to be a part was not just to be a part of it as the director, but also to hear Miss Donna's story. She's a true definition of a shero. Growing up in Annapolis my whole life, you know Eastport for two different things. You may know Eastport for the boats, or you may know Eastport for Harbor House or the Eastport Terrace. One thing about Miss Donna, though, is she sees neither. What she sees is she sees people and she sees community. And I'm big on the word community because of the word unity that's in it. So in my eyes, this story is showing how Ms. Donna on a daily basis uses what she does in the community, her skill sets, her mind, and all the things and all the resources that have been poured to her to pour back into the community. And that community is so diverse to her. So it doesn't just look black, white, you know, male, female, or any other specific thing. It's about the community as a whole. And she uses the arts to do that. And she uses love. So thank you.
Thank you, Naya and Dee. I want to again reiterate that this has always been a passion of mine to really engage the community. And like Dee said, you know, a film budget, films are very complicated pieces of art. And we also, you know, as artists, we want people to know that our work is of value. There are places like that are institutional, that have funds, but a lot of independent artists, we do struggle. We even struggle to find places to rent and live in Annapolis. So we really appreciate the Arts and Public Places, you know, the commission for really taking this project seriously. It is always a labor of love. We always work for as little as possible to get the job done, but the money is important, and it's important to really show that, you know, art is something that's a viable thing for people to do in any community. Again, Pippin's Astro was something that really brought people together, and we believe that this film will as well. I want to talk a little bit about the timeline. We've already been in pre-production, as you can see from the beautiful photos here. And if you've got a chance to watch the trailer, we've done a little bit of filming, and we plan on going through into the fall of 2024. We'll be doing production, filming, watching the story develop. And that's kind of what we can't exactly tell you what the beginning of the end is. That's the nature of a documentary film. And that's what makes it journalism and art all wrapped in together. We will do a premiere in the winter of 2025. I think it would be absolutely wonderful to do it in Donna and Mr. Boo Boo's communities, you know, in a place where that really means a lot to all of our communities. As far as documentary and film being art in public spaces, there are so many opportunities to show this film in really important places, in small communities. And really, every time we show the film, there is an opportunity for talkbacks, for dialogue about all the issues that will be in the film based on these incredible characters that we have, as well as the production team. And hopefully we will have all of our junior filmmakers up at the end of all of these as well, and really feeling like they have given back and being able to answer questions and talk and network and become better filmmakers and artists along the way. Again, the $60,000, I know this is a large chunk to ask for, but I know that for the city of Annapolis, we were directed to come to your commission as the place to sponsor the documentary film as an art. We will use it to, I identified a budget for you all, and I can go into more detail if you like, but equipment rental, post-production editing, salaries for ourselves, salaries for the kids that we engage in the community, as well as gear, post-production, marketing, all of these expenses. And as I said, this is my sixth film that I'm completely in charge of the production, and I have never had a miss. So please know that you can put your confidence in our team. Again, thank you so much to everyone and the new team for your commission. We really appreciate being here tonight and having the opportunity, and we're happy to answer any questions.
And if I could kind of close out with this, because we talk about art often, but art is typically in our communities viewed in certain ways, whereas like visual art that you can touch or feel or see. But this is like art of expression, right? Or you talk about art therapy, where again we are using art in a physical aspect of being able to record, but being able to really see the impact that this art will have on the kids is just therapeutic beyond measures. So I think like if you really just take time to think about the impact that this could have, whether it is tomorrow with the kids being able to like be inclusive to this project, or whether it's later on in life where these kids took this opportunity and really pursued photography and videography into their careers as adults. I just really feel like, you dig deep down as a kid or as a person in need or a person that's lending a hand to somebody and feel the importance of how it was to give a hand to somebody or to be receiving help, or as a child, somebody lending you an opportunity to just do something different that you never thought you could do in life. Again, thank y'all for the opportunity, and if there's any questions, go forward.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dee. Commission members, are there any questions? Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Sorry to be Mr. Question tonight. I looked at the pages where you talked about what we're being asked to support, and I felt very comfortable with the pre-production expenses, the production expenses, and even the post-production, because that's the creative part of the art of making a film. The hard part for me to see our funding is the marketing and distribution. And I'm not comfortable with that, but I wouldn't object to it if other commission members feel that that's an appropriate expense. If we were to eliminate that, it would bring the grant request down to about $50,000, about $40,000. But again, doing all of this work and then having no way to get it out there is a handicap, I understand. So I think, I'd like to hear if we've done this before, and doing films is it's a very expensive business. I understand.
So Jim,
I'm not objecting to anything they gave us.
Okay, so let me just follow up, because Jim makes a good point. And this was actually a line item that we always left out, I would say up until about 2012. Filmmakers were like, yay, I'm going to make a film. And we would put this whole budget together, and then we'd go out with our film. And then we didn't even have $100 left to apply for Sundance, right? So, and then we realized, wow, we need to get this in the schools. I mean, I think you remember, Jim, you were helpful to us with Pippin's Astro a lot. So thank you for that. But just getting, doing the lobbying to get it into school systems, doing all of this work, so now we do put it in the budgets. And so we do ask that is part of the art, almost like hanging it on the wall, the work that you put into putting it in front of people. This is our ask for that part of it. And yeah, it's very important. You're right about that.
Thank you. Thanks, Victoria. Genevieve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So per our code for arts and public places, it's to allow us to fund events that are free to the public. How many events do you anticipate on having and showing the film where the public would have accessibility without having to pay for a ticket?
So I believe that with this grant money, this buys the Arts and Public Spaces Commission an unlimited license for perpetuity. As far as any time that you would like to use it, if it's for fundraising for your own reasons, we charge tickets for Maryland Hall, but that didn't go to us. That was Maryland Hall giving us the venue for free when we did Pippin's Astro. However, it's been all over the city of Annapolis in all the schools, and we never charged Pippin's Astro at all. In fact, we gave it to Maryland Public Television because some of you don't even know, but Maryland and Public Television, PBS, does not pay to license films a lot of the time. So in order to get our work seen, a lot of times we have to do extra work just to get it out there. So we would not be charging. We would do as many free screenings as the commission would like, and also as any schools, as the Stanton Center, the Boys and Girls Club, Eastport Community Center, the Yacht Club. I mean, this film can be anywhere. And then absolutely, in the city of Annapolis, there will be no fees for anybody to see it because of your contribution. We can do that.
Wonderful, thank you. And do you have an estimated time? I know, you said you didn't really, but I'm going to ask the question again anyway, of when showings could begin.
Well, we did predict, and as you know, because you're in the production business, winter 2025. So about 2 years from now, we're all going to be dressed up and on the red carpet for a wonderful premiere of this film. It could be sooner, but that is a very good idea for production to go a year, post-production about 6 months, and then getting everything ready for the premiere. So from about 2 years from now, maybe a year and a half.
Thank you, Vicki.
All righty. David, did you have a question?
Genevieve asked my question, as a matter of fact, but I will say,
okay.
As a photographer, this is an awesome program. I wish somebody offered this to me as a kid growing up to kind of get me exposed to photography and videography in the community and help you actually get involved in a project that can actually highlight their skills. So I appreciate the effort to do this. But yeah, Genevieve asked my question about the admission events, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone else have a question? If not, I have one question. Does anyone else have a question? Okay. So Victoria, when I look at the timeline, you're in pre-production now. You'll be in production throughout the summer. Is that correct?
Well, they sort of overlap. That's why the dates look sort of weird. You're sort of doing pre-production, meaning you're finding your characters, you're starting to do interviews. And then you're also in production because you're doing video while you're doing that. So these kind of things overlap. Because we're following a story where we don't really know the arc of it, we want to give ourselves a year. We don't want to run in and do a news story. This is something that will take time to develop the characters. We want to see characters, the arcs of the characters change. And I mean, Dee and Naya can talk to how they feel that they're going to take the story. But it's a lot ends up on the cutting room floor. So that's why it seems so long. And then post-production is all the editing. Our editor is Simon Afokwa, who worked on the last film with me. And he's also local to this area. And he'll work on that. And again, there's so much overlap that then we'll see Donna post something and we'll run down to, Dia and I will run down to film it. She'll be probably on top of a fire truck, running down, doing something and saving somebody's life. So it's kind of like an ongoing process. And I don't know if I'm answering, from a producer standpoint, it's a hair puller outer because the director is always going to want more and more and film more. And you're like, no, you have to stop at some point, but I'm good at that. And which is why I have only finished films.
Awesome. Thank you. I've only produced commercials. So I've never done a full-length film, so I can only imagine. I guess I'm asking the question. I should have prefaced my question with I'm asking the question because this would be a very large grant for us. And so, but I would imagine, but if we do want to support the film, how difficult would it be, or inconvenient or obstructive would it be if we funded pre-production and the production, and then you all came back to us again in the new fiscal year, which would start July 2024, for your post-production and outreach funding?
That's
that-
absolutely, yeah, that's absolutely doable. Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that wouldn't be obstructive to your process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Jim, you have another question?
Yeah, so that would mean that we would fund $20,000 in the near term, and after July, we would fund the remaining 40,000, whatever.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily commit to doing that, but we would.
But we could look at that.
Having them come back to us, right?
Okay.
In the new year, right?
How do we clear our screen of Vicky's screen?
Oh,
She just
let
has
me
to stop sharing.
Yeah.
Because I want to see the commissioners and Vicky, of course. Now I introduced the idea of not funding big projects at full amounts, and I think in your situation, we have a really good way of managing how much we give out in each quarter that we have facing us. And I would, I don't want to cut off anybody's debate, but I would make a motion that we follow what Lynn suggested.
Well, we can't, this is not the appropriate venue
Oh,
for
okay.
that. Right.
Okay.
So,
All right, we can talk
yeah.
about that later at our voting meeting.
All
Okay.
right. Yes. Cynthia, you have a question.
Well, I just want to thank the group for your presentation. It's really impressive. I also want to just spark a little idea here. A beloved member of our community, Larry Griffin, passed away, and I think a biography of his life would be so moving, and it would be a blockbuster, because Larry Griffin was an unsung hero, a fabulous human being, and I only hope that one day he will get a biography of his life. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Cynthia. I did not know. I had not heard that. So thank you for making us aware. And thank you to the film team, Naya, Victoria, Dee, always great to hear from you. And I'm glad to see you're still doing your work, which is great. And so we will be in touch with you all. Thank you so very much for having the idea, having the courage, and for coming to us and allowing us to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
Lynn, thank you for that solution. That was really good. I like that. We can do this whole thing and be happy.
All right. Maddie, can you let okay. Yes. And D. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Maddie. Alrighty. Thanks, everyone. So on to the next item for discussion is the Westgate Circle project. And Joe, do you have more to add for that right now?
That was just in case that we wanted to give an update. I would defer to Genevieve on that one.
Genevieve, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, so we are down to the final 3 finalists. I did send out an email to everybody today with the conceptual one photo of their conceptual proposals. I will be sending out more information to the commissioners. Mitchell in the PIO's office for the mayor and the city will be putting a press release together for us. Once that is put together, it'll have all of the information in there regarding the city commenting period, the public commenting period, and the commission review, as well as when the presentations will be, which is our meeting in December. We're hoping to keep it open to the public for those number of days. So they're on our webpage. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there as I was reading. On our webpage will be the link to comment, so they can submit their comments through there. We will work with Parks and Rec to ensure that those emails are being received, and the commission can review them before the meeting. And I can, since all of the...
Thank you, Genevieve. I guess you and I will need to do a debrief.
Yeah, I will catch you up on
Yes.
everything.
Okay.
Here, let's see. So the concepts, the final three, and this was based off of the RFQ, which was qualifications. And it was the first round was only on qualifications, and then we asked them to submit their proposals. So these are the final proposals for the Westgate Circle.
So right.
And all of the background information as to how the concepts came to be from the artists, and the information of time periods and budgets and all that stuff will be compiled and put together, sent to you guys, and then the press release will be sent out. And then if the public has additional questions, you know, they can submit them, and the commission can answer and comment. Barbara?
Hey, Genevieve. I was just curious, how did these three kind of make the cut in terms of the selection from the committee? Or
So,
the commission, excuse me.
right. So per the RFQ, there was a selection committee put together, and it was David, Joe, and myself, along with Kristen Perianis from Visit Annapolis and Chanel Compton from Banneker Douglas. And the review was of the qualifications of whether these artists were able to do pieces of this size, and based on their resume and their past sculptures that they've done. And then also, as mentioned in the RFQ, preferential treatment was given to anybody who was local as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Cynthia, you have a question.
Yes, pertaining to the email that was sent out at approximately 6 p.m. this evening, there are quite a few errors. We don't have a scheduled meeting the day after Christmas. It's not on the schedule. So we do not have a meeting scheduled for the 26th of December.
Actually,
Also,
we do have a meeting, Cynthia. It's always the
well,
last Tuesday of the month, except for
well,
August.
yeah, but it's not, I believe, you look on the Google Calendar, it's not there. So I don't believe we need to schedule that meeting in order to, you know, make sure that the staff is available. It's currently not on the calendar. And number two, how long, I mean, I think the timeline had some errors. How long is the public input period?
It's from when it's released until the commission votes.
So it's less than a month. I mean, it'll be about a month. Is that what you're saying?
It is a month, yes.
Okay, because I think there was some errors on that email pertaining to the timeline. So we just need to just make sure that, you know, we have these corrected dates and make sure that Madeline and others know that, you know, the day after Christmas, we're going to be having our monthly meeting. And Mark Hildebrand, make sure he's aware.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for making that note. Jim, you have a question?
I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand the right way. So these 3 proposals will be presented to the public, I presume, in a couple days. And then we will vote in December, or we will vote in January.
The presentations will be made by the artists in December, just like we did today. So like we had presentations and then you hold a vote later after discussion. You have these concepts in front of you now. So any questions, comments, any suggestions for changing any of the stuff that you have after the information is sent out to you, you may submit back to the artists. They do have time to change their proposals based on your feedback or not, and then they present to you in December, and then the commission gets to choose the finalists from the 3.
But we won't hear the public's view until
Yes,
these
we
are
will. We will get the comments, Jim, and we will refer to them before we vote in December.
Well, how will the public see these? Just refresh my memory. You're going to do a press release and release these 3 proposals for the public to scrutinize?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure the public has an opportunity to feed back to the artists, but also, I guess they feedback, well, whoever they feed back to, and that they feed back to the commission.
Right.
Yes.
They would feed back to the commission. They would not feed back directly to the artists.
Right.
The public comments would come to the commission, Jim. So,
Okay.
Yes. And so I would ask that once we do have the press release and we do have the information available, that we all share it with our networks through social media and any other forms you have for sharing information with the local community, and in particular in your wards, in the wards that you represent. All righty.
So just to verify,
yes,
according to the email, it says that on Christmas Day, that is the deadline to submit comments. Do you really think that's enough of a timeline? You know, basically 3 weeks. And also during the holiday season when a lot of people are out of town, I think we need to rethink this timeline. And, you know, things coming out around the holidays, a lot of folks just don't have time to really, you know, delve into it. So I want to extend that from Christmas Day to maybe January 25th, 2024.
Okay, Cynthia, is that a motion?
I would second the motion if it's a motion.
Well, it's an idea for discussion since this is discussion, but
Okay.
I'm really concerned about, you know, Christmas Day being the deadline for submission of comment. And anyone else who has any ideas.
Well, I mean, you think about the fact that, I mean, a lot of folks are, you know, social media doesn't take a break. People are, I'm sorry, Genevieve, I jumped ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Genevieve, please, go ahead.
So your supposition is, your supposition is that between now and Christmas, people won't have a chance to review these applications and not be able to make a comment? So
Well,
3 weeks, 3 weeks, they won't have any time to do that.
now effectively begins Monday of this coming week. It's for us to get the word out and whatever, because we have to get all that into our computer and then out to our network. But also, this needs to be in the newspaper it needs to be to a really wide distribution. But I think there needs to be time for people to discuss it, critique it, and not feel rushed.
And 3 weeks isn't enough time to discuss something.
No,
No.
not something this important. We're spending $300,000 on this. We ought to have a little bit
No,
more
we're
time.
not. Excuse me, Jim. No, we are not spending $300,000 on anything. The commission voted to spend $50,000. That's what we have. That's all that we have voted for.
Well, these.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Maybe-
Genevieve. David, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No,
I thought you had-
you know, the speed of social media is kind of amazing. As I work in IT, I mean, Jim, it takes a second to send something out to 100 people. At least from my perspective, it does. So, once we have something to send to people, you can send it, and then people send it to their people as well. And that doesn't take that much time to do. I mean, I think, 3 weeks, I think people can respond. If they feel strongly about it, they'll respond.
Okay. I'm not going to argue.
I'm just,
I felt we could spend a little more time with it, and hopefully hear their changes or corrections.
Cynthia, you have another question?
No, I have a comment. I would say the Arts Council of Anne Arundel County, and we should be modeling our actions and after them. I really think that 3 weeks is not a long enough period of time, especially during the holiday season. People already have travel plans and, doing shopping and getting packages out. I don't think it is enough time. I think we should move it up to either January 25th, 2024, or longer. I think that we will receive criticism from the public that they have not been given due time to look and review and to submit public comments. I mean, submitting public comments on Christmas Day, that's the deadline? I think that we're going to take some flack from it. So, yeah, I think it's very unusual. I will make a proposal that we move it up a month at least.
Alrighty. Are there any other
I'd like to
comments?
comment on her reference to the Arts Council. May I remind the commission that the Arts Council is actually our administrator for this. They are the ones who developed the RFQ. They are the ones that implemented the RFQ. They're the ones that accepted the applications. They're the ones that have done all of the administrative work. And April Nyman agreed to do it for us for free. So it is modeled after.
And it's right there on the projected timeline.
How the Arts Council does it. So that's my point. Now, if there's a motion on the floor, let's do it.
I don't know that we have a motion.
What is the motion?
We don't have a motion. There is no motion on the floor. No one has
I'll
made
make a motion that we move up the deadline from Christmas Day to the 25th of January, 2024 to provide the public with a longer period of time to submit comments.
Is there a second? Okay. All right. Well, is there a second? Okay. So there.
I'm just going to point out that we already agreed to the timeline that Genevieve has said.
Alrighty, thank you. Alrighty, so the motion is moved because there was no second. Thank you all for the discussion. We value all your opinions. Is there any new business?
Now you made me forget it. I had something in mind. I don't want to spend time dwelling on it. I would just really like whoever creates this document, can you all see that, the budget document?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever creates that, I don't know. I would like more elaboration of the items so that I understand what they really are, like what are the encumbrances and the actual expenses and so forth. I think that, and it should just be the budget for that particular period, not, back to 2019. That seems that was a nice thing to have, but maybe we should get a spreadsheet that's a little different. But
Okay. We will
it's really
try to
up to you all.
develop a narrative so that with an update each month, that may be a little helpful. I think Genevieve had her hand up first.
I'll let Joe go.
Okay, Joe.
I would the information that you're asking for is literally on the second tab of the spreadsheet you have received.
I saw it. And it's all numbers and codes. And then there's some more. It's all over the place. And what I'm trying to get to is we could have a simple and consistent spreadsheet that tells us everything we need to know on one piece of paper. And most printers are not this, wide as our view. So it just seemed that, if this is all there is to the second page, that could be on a spreadsheet that doesn't have all this other stuff that is past history. I mean, maybe 1 year back, but we don't need to go, 4 years back, 5 years back. So I'm just suggesting that we could have a simpler and clearer and easily understood spreadsheet. And I'm sure that the chair, and maybe I can work with her on it, and we can come up with that and we can put it together.
Alrighty, thank you. Thank you, Joe, for that. I'd love to chat with you too, Joe, and to make sure that we're both on the same page and we are seeing the same things. So, and maybe there's a way we can set up the pages so that people are only seeing certain parts of it. We'll see. We'll see. Yes, Genevieve.
So when you're in the Excel spreadsheet, if you highlight the columns only that you would like to print, you can do it that way. You don't have to print everything out, Jim. You can highlight what you want, and then you right click and you say print. So.
I totally get that. But okay. The key is the budget, and we have the number that's the original budget. I'm not quite sure how we got that number, 264. And then we have encumbrances were 0, so that's easy. But I do think that if there are encumbrances, we should know what they are. And I think it would just be simpler to have it on one simple spreadsheet. Actual expenses, what were they for? Encumbered requisitions, what the hell is that? And then, or encumbered and requisitions. And these numbers come out of the air. And I know that they're on another page at the other end of the spreadsheet, which doesn't make any sense. It should be right here. It just makes sense to have it right here. And then we get a total number of money available of $244,582 on this Art in Public Places budget comparison. But then, yeah, at the bottom of this sheet, then we get your sheet, which is actually more clear, by the way. So take the compliment. I shrunk it down and made it all fit on a single piece of paper, which is easier for me to work with. And I think we could modify this a little bit to make it fit so that it doesn't have to be microscopic for people to read. I'm just suggesting that we need to be, I think it's called data visualization, but we need to make it a little more clear so that whoever's going to look at this can understand what it's saying. I get it, and I get this, and this makes more sense than whatever this thing does, because the numbers don't they don't equate to each other.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Will, Genevieve, did you have something else?
I was just going to say that all of the actual expenses are outlined on the tab per the year. So if you go down to the bottom and you click 2024, it tells you what that $31,325 is, and then the encumbered and all that kind of stuff. It is all there, but it's I understand that maybe it's not printing out in a form that he can follow or something. I don't know, but
yeah.
But here's
Yeah.
here's the other thing that I wanted to point out. I'm sorry to drag this out, and I don't mean I'll stop. But you know, a lot of this is ancient history. Why is it still there? And I'm sure you have a good reason, but you know, we just need to see what
Because it's public record and we are spending public tax money, so we have to keep our records. Like you can't just blow it all up because you're done with it.
readable. All I'm asking for is let's make the record readable to the public.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Alrighty. I think we need to move forward now. I believe it's appropriate for us to consider the two proposals that were made this evening. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Genevieve nodding her head yes. So I will entertain motions for the Maryland Hall proposal as well as the documentary film proposal. Cynthia.
Yes, hi. I propose 2,500 for the Maryland Hall and also the other project 2,500.
Well, we have to take those two we have to take them separately, Cynthia. So
okay,
if you
okay. 2,500 for the first one.
Is that a proposal or is it a motion?
It's a motion.
Okay. All right. Is there a second? Okay, no second. Already, I will entertain another motion. Barbara.
Thanks, Lynn. I'd like to make a motion of $3,000 for Maryland Hall.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Joe, can we take a vote now? Or is there any discussion before we take the vote, I guess? Is there any discussion? No. Okay. Already, Joe, you can go. Go for it.
Jim.
Aye. I'm not sure what to say at this point. I'm kind of want to hear really what other people think. Let me abstain. Let me pass, and at the end of it, call me. Yes, that's totally legal.
I wasn't doubting it. David.
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye.
Cynthia.
Aye.
Barbara.
Aye.
Genevieve.
Aye.
Jim.
So we're talking $3,000, and I vote aye.
And Joe, aye. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So we have passed an award to Maryland Hall for the I Am a Man exhibit, $3,000 to make a grant award to them for $3,000. Okay, is there a motion on the documentary film? Cynthia.
Yes, I make a motion to vote for 2,500 for this project for the fiscal year that we are in.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. I'll entertain another motion.
All right. Oops.
David, go ahead.
I make a motion that we support $20,000 for the film projects.
Was there a second? I'm sorry, was there a second?
Yes.
I'll second.
Well, Jim second. Why not?
Okay, Jim second. Okay, is there any discussion?
I do have a little discussion on this one. Oh, sorry, Genevieve. Whether we can specify what the costs are for, and I say that for two reasons. One, we did that last month with Mike Noonan's kind of seed money, and so I think it's appropriate if we wanted to really specify what the funds could be spent for. And I also think since we haven't really funded a project like this in this way, it's important for us to kind of think through how, what components of a film project kind of fall under our appropriate funding model. So I would kind of like to hear from other folks sort of some responses to that.
Okay, Cynthia, you have a response or you have another question?
Yes, Joe, the precedent is that Deanie Henson came before our commission for funding for her documentary about Hoppy Adams. She is still interested. She wants to reapply. She is still seeking money to finish her documentary about Hoppy Adams. Now, we do currently have the Hoppy Adams Foundation that has been able to obtain grants for the Hoppy Adams house, the birthplace of Hoppy Adams. And we have a very active Hoppy Adams Foundation within the community. I think that we need to really rethink spending $20,000 on this one project and perhaps, spread the wealth a little bit.
We need point of order.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Cynthia, I'm sorry. That the motion, the discussion is about this particular application, not about an application which we are not considering this evening. So
that was the only other precedent that an individual who came before the commission and asked for $10,000.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Barbara,
go
to
ahead.
complete her documentary on the life of Hoppy Adams.
Go ahead, Barbara. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Lynn. I guess I had a question because I thought per our rules that an artist, whatever the media, can only apply for a grant once, that they can't apply twice. Isn't that correct, Genevieve, or am I misremembering that?
Well, sort of. So it's only within the fiscal year.
Okay,
so,
it's within the fiscal year. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be clear on that. Thanks.
Yeah, they can apply again in the next fiscal year. I'm trying to share my screen so you all can see the budget. Hang on a second.
At the end of the proposal, they have it says,
Jim, David has his hand up.
Okay. Thank you, Genevieve. I was sharing my screen so I couldn't see it. David, you have.
Yeah, thanks for pulling it up, Lynn. Like I said, I know, at least in her presentation, she had a breakdown of cost. So maybe we can look at that and kind of, allocate certain dollar figure to some of her costs that she indicated in her presentation. To maybe, to Joe's point, I think just wants to make sure the money is being spent for a particular thing. So maybe we can look at that breakdown of her itemized list. Maybe we can say we'll support an X amount of money for these particular items on that list. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm willing to amend my motion to be specific if that's what the commission would like it to be. So we can specifically say, the 20,000 is for, pre-production and which line items that the commission supports.
Okay. Trying to, there it is. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, it's up on the screen again. So, it sounds like we want to, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we want to amend that motion, or do we want to vote on that motion and come back?
Could you restate the motion? Because I do want to comment before you vote.
My motion,
okay.
Go ahead, Chair. Go ahead.
Oh. The motion is to fund the film at $20,000.
Okay. She itemizes what she would like to spend the money on from the commission on the last three pages of the proposal. And it says the funds provided by AIPPC will be allocated as follows. And she has pre-production $5,000, which is the creative part of it. And then there's an amount of 15,000 for production, which is mostly equipment, rentals, travel, insurance. But then there's also post-production, which is ahead of the game for us, is 30,000. So, you know, that this is what she would like us to spend, or she would like to spend our money on, and she's itemized it for us. And
Actually, Jim, this is not our money. The money belongs to the citizens of the residents of the city of Annapolis.
It's our
Yes.
responsibility to spend it for them, and I'm trying to spend it wisely. And I don't disagree with giving them 20,000, but I want us to make sure what we're spending it on. And I think that she's given us a formula on the back that specifies what she would like our money to be spent on. And we can either approve that, or we can make up some other number and tell her what it can be.
So the motion that is currently on the floor is to fund the request at $20,000. That would include the request of $5,000 for pre-production and $15,000 for production. Joe, you have a question. I'm sorry, Genevieve had her hand up first. Oh, Joe, go ahead.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind scrolling down so that we can all see this is for the overall budget. And then, yeah, I think,
that's what I'm talking.
Yeah, and she has provided us this formula, but does this formula match, or is it consistent with what we would fund in other genres? We've literally gone down, for example, in musical productions, to sort of parse out whether we pay for equipment rental or we pay for other components. And so the fact that the production cost here is, for example, for equipment rental or for travel, those are categories of spending that I think we just need to figure out whether that is equivalent to ways we would spend that money in other genres. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, that's a good point, Joe. Thank you. Any other? So, Joe, do you recommend that we?
I don't know.
I mean, take a vote and come back to it, or should we amend the motion?
Well, that's the thing is I feel like I totally take her expertise in terms of what the categories of spending need to be, whether we can sort of direct the money towards certain things that we're comfortable spending is a separate question. So I guess I can't answer that question. Like Genevieve's amount of money, you know, I would support that, but do we kind of break down where we feel like that $20,000 can be applied, since it's AIPPC money, so falls under certain guidelines? So I feel like Genevieve could amend her motion pretty comfortably to kind of just direct the money in particular ways.
Okay, thank you. All righty, David, and then we'll go back to Genevieve. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'm trying to work through Joe's proposal here in terms of things that are, I mean, it's a little bit of a different process from a film than from a concert, which is sort of a tangible thing. They're going to be playing, there are people there. So like cruise salaries and fees would maybe be equivalent to paying your artist, give or take. So that's $7,000. Can you scroll down a little bit, Lynn?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Yeah, keep going. Stop right there. So the 7,000 for cruise salaries and fees. We don't want to pay for travel or insurance. Sound design and mixing, that's like paying for sounds. We don't do that. In any of the production things, the color grading, licensing, that kind of stuff may fall within, you know, it's not going to be apples to apples, I don't think, because again, it's a different type of, you know, so I'm just trying to think of things that are similar that we would feel comfortable supporting, that we can say, hey, we'll give you $20,000, you know, $7,000 for cruise and salary, animation production, color grading, and licensing for composition. I'm making that up. Just a thought.
Okay. So, Jim, you have a question.
I think what we want to fund is the creative part of her process. The equipment, the rental, and, I mean, yes, it's part of the way they go about their business, but the creative part of it, she listed in pre-production at $5,000. And then she jumped, you skip over production for a minute and look at post-production, and she wants 30,000 there, which would put her way over what we were willing to spend now. So, and that is post-production. But there's the creative part is it right there. Editing, sound design and mixing, animation production, color grading, music licensing and composition, and graphic design and titles. So I think we can safely stick with our $20,000 budget at this point, because we're going to pick this up later. And some of this stuff will come after the turn of the fiscal year that's in post-production. So I think if we agree to fund the first part, and I looked at editing, which would make it 15,000, and then let her do sound design and mixing or whatever she wants to pay. I think we should just say we're going to give her the $15,000 for pre-production. I think that's right.
5,000 for pre-production.
5,000
5,000 was the request for
pre-production, and then the remainder of our $15,000 could be used to begin her process of post-production. But the thing that we're having some issues with is equipment rental, crew salaries and fees, travel, accommodation, and insurance. This is a movie. And in order to be creative in a movie, you've got to have tools to get this off the ground. So maybe just 1 and 2, and we'll do post-production and marketing and distribution. We'll consider those later.
Okay. Joe, you have I'm going to go to Genevieve right after you, Joe, to amend her motion. But go ahead, Joe.
I actually forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right.
But I am
Jen,
one. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
No.
I'm just trying to parse out some language that is more open-ended, but that really specifies sort of pre-production and then creative processes associated with production. That there's something about that creative piece that I think we're zeroing in on, which I appreciate. We're kind of really trying to wrestle this down. That's all.
No, that's great. No, thank you, Joe, for that. That's really helpful. Okay, Genevieve.
Okay, so if I'm going through this list and I'm looking at it from a production artistry standpoint of what would be considered, actual work by the artist, for pre-production and production, we would break it down, story development and script writing. That's an artistic down, and then it would take us into production for crews and salaries and fees. Well, you're paying for the artists, you're paying for the crew that are creating the film. So that would be an artistic expense. And then the remaining artistic expenses are basically in post-production. So in the beginning, it would be, wait a minute, let me just, yeah. In the beginning, we have crew salaries of 7,000 and the script writing at 1,000. So that's only 8,000 for pre-production and production for the artistry part of it. The other portion would be in post-production, and the way that it was mentioned earlier that you would like Vicky to come back later and get funding for post-production? Do we still want to do that
Well,
process?
I mean, we don't have to. We don't have to if you're going to include, you could include more of that. More
Yeah.
post-production in the
So-
20, wanted to keep the amount 20,000. But David and Joe, hang on, Genevieve, just one quick question in between your question. Equipment rental, is that for cameras and?
I
It's for
imagine
the It's for the tools for the cameramen and the artists who are going to come later to put stuff together. They have to have pictures, they have to have images, they have to have sound. So I understand that we're concerned about paying for hardware when in fact we're paying for the tools of creativity in 1 and 2. And
but that's
the-
falls claiming the line like we don't pay for for sound, which is you can't have a band without sound. So those
Well,
are
that-
also creativity as well.
sound
Well,
and
you could do
mixing.
acoustic,
Right, but you're not paying for sound.
right?
You're paying for the artist.
But you
Okay.
can't create a film without a camera, though.
Right.
Well, David,
Oh.
sound is added all the time, but in this case, I'm sure they're going to be recording things using this equipment as they go along, but the actual editing and sound design and the mixing of the sound, that's definitely not going to be done in the beginning. That's going to be done
It's
in the
post-production, yes.
Right,
production
post-production.
part of it. So let's just make it logical in our mind that we want to do the creative part of it in the beginning, which is getting
Jim,
all
can
of
we
the
let Genevieve amend her motion?
yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead,
Okay.
Genevieve.
Well, as I was explaining, if I'm going to amend it for just the pre-production and production artistry part of it, then we're only at 8,000.
You can amend it any way you want.
Okay, so I'll amend my motion then for $8,000, and that covers the crew salaries and the script writing in pre-production and production, with a recommendation that they come back after July 1st for post-production expenses.
So how much is the total you're giving them?
8,000.
Well, that only covers, are you giving them 5,000 for the 3 items she listed in pre-production?
So like I said, so my motion is for the crew salaries that are listed, and that's in production, and it says crew salaries and fees, and that's 7,000. And then the script writing in pre-production, story development and script writing is 1,000.
Okay.
So my motion on the floor now, I've amended it from 20,000 to 8,000 to cover the artistry in pre-production and production. That's directly from the artists. Barbara has
Barbara.
it up.
Thanks, Genevieve. Why not include research and development in pre-production, the 2,000, because that's part of the creative process, along with the story development. So you're not going to count that 2,000?
I'm not disagreeing that it's not part of it. I was just trying to break it down.
Okay, because that would make it, well, I was going to say, because that
Right.
would make it 10,000 as opposed to 8,
Right.
which I'd be
Right.
more comfortable with.
Right, but based on what Vicky presented today in the trailer, it appears that they already have their research and development done. And she did say that there will be more content that they add as it goes, because Donna continues to have a full life. So, they'll be adding stuff to it. But currently they have the premise for the film already.
Okay, so you're amending it from 20,000 to just 8.
For now, yes, with the recommendation that they come back for the post-production artistry costs, which are on my list here, post-production artistry would be well towards the 30,000.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. So, Genevieve has amended her motion, and I don't think we need a second for the amendment. We do need a second for the amendment. I don't have my Robert's rules out, but
Yes.
okay. So we need a second for the amended motion to fund
That's right.
a creative process at $8,000 for the documentary film. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, David. Thank you. David, second. And I think we've had the discussion. So I'm going to call the question. And Joe, can you do the roll call, please? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm sorry, Joe. Did I
Yes,
say Dave?
I'm no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you did.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on. I'm getting to my list.
That's fine.
Okay. Lynn,
I.
David,
Aye.
Joe, I, Genevieve,
Aye.
Jim,
I find it remarkable that you all are more parsimonious than me. But I felt that we needed to target better toward that 20,000 for the creative part. So I vote no.
Cynthia.
I think we've lost Cynthia.
Oh, okay. And Barbara.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, everyone. That was hard work, but I think we've come to we have solutions.
You survived the first meeting.
All righty. If there's no further discussion, oh, I'm sorry, Genevieve, you have your hand is up. Is that?
I just wanted to make a note that please, when the notice of decision goes out, that it is mentioned that this is just for pre-production and post and production, and that they are invited to come back after July 1st for post-production.
We will
Okay.
we will make sure that's a part of the award letter.
Thank you.
Okay. Cynthia, you missed the vote. I see you're back. Would you like to enter your vote?
Yes. Okay. Okay, I really have some concerns and I would rather abstain and have Ashley Leonard of the Office of Law look at the proposal, because I don't think we're really permitted to pay for salaries, cast, of salaries.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia. All right.
Okay, and about old business, are we already finished with that? But Stuart White, I heard from him, and he's currently living in Easton. He usually does just gallery work now. He's progressed from doing murals, but he's willing to come to Annapolis, take a look at the Hillman Garage mural, and give us a new estimate. So
Good.
that's an update on the Hillman Garage mural.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if that is everything.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
That-
I can make
Lynn,
motions.
Lynn, that will become your favorite motion.
I'm sort of mine sometimes.
Trust me. Trust me.
Happy holidays, everybody.